Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you know that I'm still at the beginning of my year-long deep dive into the Lenormand system. The system that started off as the game of hope in Germany, and then when the creators of that deck decided to start selling them in France, they added the name of a very famous diviner, a very famous psychic, a cartomancer named Madame Lenormand. And then that deck, when it moved over to the United States about 50 years later, was given the name of an American, a woman in the United States called Madame Morrow. And unfortunately, that deck never really got huge popularity, but the Lenormand deck really boomed. And then the Lenormand deck moved back over to the United States under the original name, and well, the second name. And so we've got this wonderful deck, we've got this wonderful system to use. And for me, I've been discovering how it has influenced my reading of tarot using this deck. Not saying that I now read tarot cards the exact same way that I read Lenormand cards, but rather patterns and ways of associating cards and ways of interlacing ideas. I think they are influencing my tarot reading, if that makes sense. I'm not saying that I didn't do that before, but this deep dive into the Lenormand, I think, is helping to expand my capacity to read and to explore what I see before me when I look at tarot cards. Does that make sense? Yeah? For example, when I did my deep dive into the continental tarot system through the lens of the Tarot of the Holy Light, that expanded my reading with more understanding of element and the stars and how they influence the way that we organize information within the tarot. And then when I did my year-long dive into the Thoth deck, that expanded my understanding of the smith-waite and the other Golden Dawn system decks. And this system is also helping to expand my practice, my ways of seeing. I think that ways of seeing and ways of organizing information, I think that's what makes sense for me. Does that make sense to you? If it does, let me know in the comments below. If it doesn't, let me know in the comments below. Maybe I'll figure out a way to express it more clearly, more in a more organized fashion. So, friends, we've got this wonderful deck, and I'm still using the same deck I've been using for the last couple of weeks, the Anna K, and I'll show you the decks, I'll show you what we're looking at in just a moment. But before we get to that, let's focus on topic. Let's focus on the topic for this week's video. And you probably got a clue of it from the title of the video this week as well. This week, we're looking at new beginnings. New beginnings. How does that sit with you? For some of us, when we hear the idea of new beginnings, we get excited. A new adventure, a new project is the food that invigorates our lives. But I know that that is not the truth for all of us, right? There are some of us who hear the words, the ideas of new beginnings, and there's a little bit of trepidation, a little resistance there. It could be for many reasons. It could be because the idea of a new beginning somehow also implies the ending of something. One cycle ends, another cycle begins. One project ends, another project begins. And maybe some of us feel like we don't want to begin something new. We are happy with what we're doing now. So that idea of I have to start something new might cause some resistance. Or maybe that idea of something new causes resistance because of the feeling, the fear, the discomfort that they'll have to add just one more thing to their already full plate of things to do. Yeah? They've got a full plate and they don't feel like they have the time or the energy to take on something new. Have you ever felt like that? Or perhaps it could be even the idea of time and age, and maybe we feel like, oh, I'm too old to start something new. Yeah, I'm nearing the end of my cycle of life, and I'm ready for closures, not beginnings, right? Now, there are ways to break down, to unpack all of those pieces of resistance. Yeah? And resistance, we know, is an indication that we are not open to the full potential that we have available to us. We are not open to receiving and implementing and using the full power of intention. And if you know me, you probably know that I imagine the power of intention like a river that is moving in the direction of all of the things that I want for myself. The relationships, the experiences, the creative projects, the things and people and places that I want to experience. And I have the choice of whether or not I am going to open to that powerful current which will move me in the direction of what I want as I evolve into the person who has those experiences. Or I can resist and work hard in the sense of use a lot of effort because it's going to be hard and difficult and I have to fight my way through it. And all of those things are indications that I'm closing myself off from the power of intention. I'm being protective. I'm becoming resistant. And that resistance puts up a barrier. Now, it's not an impermeable barrier. And that resistance might drop me down to the riverbed, if we're continuing the metaphor of the powerful river of intention. It might drop me down to the riverbed, but even a rock on the bottom, on the floor of a river, will move with the current. It's going to move awfully slowly, but it will move because the river is an irresistible force. So, we have the choice. We can open up in love and joy and well-being and flow with the current of intention, knowing that we're moving in the direction of what we want, what we've intended for ourselves. Or we can tighten up, batten down, and sink to the floor of the river and know that it's going to take us an awful long time to get to where we want to be, in the way that we want to be there. Yes? So, what are those three? I named three, and I know that there are more. If you can think of more, let me know in the comments below. That would be wonderful. But I thought of three reasons that somebody might be resistant to the idea of a new beginning. Let's unpack them, yeah? Beginnings imply ends. They do, but not necessarily, yeah? We can continue the lives that we have and begin something new, right? That new thing can be included in this wonderful life that we're perfectly happy with. That new thing can be added. And then now maybe you're feeling that resistance of the second one I mentioned, which is, well, I don't have enough time for a new thing to be added. I don't have enough energy to take care of another thing. And how can we unpack that? That feeling that I don't have enough energy, I don't have enough time is already an indication of very strong resistance, right? And so that's the first thing that we want to work on. Opening up to the possibilities of the present moment. Opening up to the possibility that when something new enters, maybe other things are able to be accomplished with far less energy, with far less investment of time, and maybe even accomplished by other people. Yeah, we might find help from corners, from people that we had never anticipated we would receive help from. Yeah, so that's another thing to remember is, yes, something new can enter our lives, even though we feel like our plates are very, very full and we have rich, diverse experiences every day of our lives. Something new can be added, and we can still accomplish and live the lives that we are living right now. And then there's that idea that, well, I'm too old. So let's go to that one right now. Too old. Now, if you are like me, and you believe, perhaps even know, that we are eternal beings having a human experience, that idea of being too old is immediately solved. Yeah? Because there is no death for us. There's death for perhaps these bodies, but there is no death for us, the eternal beings having these human experiences. Yeah? Yes, the death of this body, the disintegration of this body will be an ending of a sort, but it would be the ending for the beginning of a new cycle of life. Whether you believe that's reincarnation or you believe it's a movement on to another plane, we move on. And so it's never too late. The death of this, and it's not really a death, the transformation of this body is the beginning of something new already. So there's no I'm too old in that framework. There's also, well, you might be thinking, but if I'm going to do something new, I want it to be in this body and at this period of time. Or, well, okay, so when I get to that transformation, yes, something new can happen and we'll be good with that. But now nothing new can begin. Maybe you're thinking that. And to that, I'd like to drop the seed of an idea into your consciousness. That it is never too late. It is on our deathbeds. Yeah? Now, many people, I'm told, have regrets when they arrive at the time of what we call a deathbed. Yes? When they realize the end of this particular physical existence has arrived or is arriving quickly. And some people have regrets. I wish that I had not done this. I wish I had done that more. Certainly that is the case for many people, but not all. Now, some people have been perfectly happy and they're very happy to transition out of this body that they inhabit. There are those people as well. But there are also those people who have, and I'm going to use a very Christian word but I'm not limiting it to the Christian context, have a conversion on their deathbeds. Yeah, have a conversion. And some of them actually are Christian conversions, and they suddenly realize that they believe in the Christian ideas and ideals, and they become Christian on their deathbed. Certainly that happens. But it's not necessarily only that kind of conversion. Yeah, a conversion of heart. They suddenly realize that they are love and they are loved and that they can love. And weight is lifted from them. Even if it's moments before they are about to leave this body, weight is lifted from them. And that's something new. And of course, we don't have to wait till that last moment for that to happen. That can happen every moment of every day. And that's the point, I think, of this week's video. That something new is not something off in the distance that will happen tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. But rather, it's an attitude of every moment of every day is the new. It is a new beginning. This is a new beginning. And this is a new beginning. And then this is a new beginning. Yeah, because time is a construct of the human mind, mostly. And what really exists is the eternal now. And the new can only begin in the eternal now. And perhaps the new begins continuously in the now. Does that make sense? Have you ever had that thought? And if you have, you are perhaps enlightened, although I don't think one should use that in the past tense, enlightening, or have had experiences of enlightenment, yeah? Awakenings. If you've had that idea that the eternal now is an eternally new beginning, that's a sense of enlightenment. That's a realization. That's an awakening to the present moment and to the newness of what is. And like I said, I think this week's spread is pointing in that direction. So, let's see if I'm a liar. Let's see if I'm telling you the truth. Let's see if it actually works out that way. So what are we going to do? I am going to let you see the spread all laid out. And then just in case you are new here, I'll explain briefly what it was you just saw. And then we're going to break that spread into its two major component parts and read those parts together. Okay? So friends, if you are ready, here we go. Friends, this is our new beginning. Yes, we are beginning this video anew. And you just saw a spread. The decks used in this spread are created by Anna K. And in the center you saw 6 cards all gathered together, and they are from the Anna K. Lenormand. It's a wonderful deck. And the 4 cards on the corners, at the corners, are from the Anna K. Tarot. And I love using these decks together. The Tarot deck is on the smaller side, so if you've got small hands, it might be a good deck for you. And I highly recommend, if you are going to purchase these decks, to go to her website. She's in Germany. She will ship from Germany. But you can get both the Lenormand and the Tarot deck from her on her site. And I always highly recommend purchasing directly from the creator whenever possible. Now, her Tarot deck is produced also mass market, and you can get it through Amazon. But I'll have a link to her shop in Germany. Yeah, it's a really good resource. And just in case you are new here, like I said, let me tell you what those card positions are all about. Now, the 6 cards in the center from the Lenormand deck are in 2 lines of 3, right? Above and below. And that's the way I'm going to be reading these decks, these cards generally. Yeah? The 3 cards above, those are the cards that represent what's on our mind, what's in our vision, what we are looking at. Now, our conscious sphere. And then the 3 cards below are either our unconscious sphere, the things that are floating beneath the surface perhaps, or things that we're just not giving that much attention to, but are there. Yeah? So they could be just there and not given much attention, or they could be way down in the subconscious. So the 4 cards at the corners, they are in what many people call elemental positions, which means that in the upper left-hand corner there is fire, in the lower right-hand corner there's water. In the upper right-hand corner is air, in the lower left-hand corner is earth. So fire, water, air, and earth. And I read these with elemental dignities, which means that each one of these suits in their positions has either an element that is well dignified, it invigorates it, an element that is the same, and so they are the same, an element that's neutral, so they don't interfere with each other, they neither build each other up nor tear each other down, or an element that is ill-dignified, which means that it will be in conflict with the original element. Yes? So for example, fire and water are ill-dignified, which means that water will drown out the fire will burn up the water, they sap energy from each other. Yes? They are in conflict with each other. So we'll read those 4 cards later on in the video. Okay, so what are we going to do now? First, I will show you the 6 cards from the center once more, and then we will read those 6 cards together, and then I'll show you the 4 cards that were at the corners just as a refresher, and we'll read them. Are you all set, friends, for a new beginning? Here it is. Friends, that was the spread, the interior portion of the spread, the Lenormand portion of the spread for this week. And you saw from left to right on the top, we had the child, the bear, and the ship. And perhaps seeing those cards, you might have already realized the reason that I decided to give the title A Strong New Beginning to this week's video. Now, particularly from those first 2 cards, the child and the bear, right? And then below those 3 cards, from left to right, we have the rider, the moon, and the wild card. And that wild card is particular to this deck. You won't find that wild card in other Lenormand decks. Anna added it for this deck, and I decided to use it. I've shuffled it into the deck, and I use it every time I use this deck. So, now, you know that the first thing that I like to do when I look at a spread, and I know it doesn't have a lot of meaning, but I like to get a sense of the general flavor of a spread, especially a small one like this. 6 card, 9 card, and maybe even when we get to that 13 card spread later on in the year, I might continue doing that, but I might stop after the 9 card. Yeah, because after we get past a certain number of cards, it positive, negative, I think, gets really unhelpful. Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm still learning. So for this 6 card spread, though, I think it gives a little bit of a sense of the flavor. So we start with the child being positive neutral, right? The bear being neutral, and the ship being positive neutral. So the 3 cards on top are fairly positive. Yeah, they're not like, yes, let's do this thing positive, but they're positive. And then below, the rider is positive. The moon is positive or neutral, right? And the wild card is a void. So even the bottom is fairly positive. So we've got a fairly positive spread that we're looking at here, I think. And we start off with the child, right? The child. Does this child in this card remind you of a Victorian doll by any chance? It kind of reminds me of that. Or am I strange? That's what I see. But what is a child? A child is a new human being, right? A small human being, certainly. Particularly the child that we think of for Lenormand is like probably around 5 years old. So it's not an infant, but it's still a very new human being. right? With the abilities of someone who is new, we're still learning, right? But also the traditional hopeful imaginativeness of what we consider to be a child. And now, yes, I also know that there are children who are living in horrific circumstances who at very young ages seem to have lost all of their childhood hope and playfulness and joy. And yes, there are many, many children throughout the world who are suffering and have lost all of that. But this card is pointing towards the archetypal child, the child who has not had those horrible, terrifying experiences. So this young child it's new, there's hope there, there's joy there, there's exploration there, yes? And so this is a card of new beginnings, right? Now they're small, but they're small things that are developing and growing. It could actually be a person if we were reading for another person, right? Here I'm reading for all of us through me. And the question I ask every week is, how can we live our lives more intentionally in the coming week? And I don't think this card is telling us that we should all have babies. we should not even get pregnant. We should all deliver babies, right? Because certainly we are not all in female bodies. And having a baby or a child, while wonderful for most, is not the dream of all. And so, yeah, that's not what this card is pointing towards for this kind of a general reading. But the child card can point to a child or a baby. It can point to a teenager even. It can point to a freshman, a beginner at a university, for example, or a beginner at high school. It could point to a student. Yeah, remember this card is associated with the Jack. Yeah, the Jack of clubs. So there's that idea of a young male person as well, right? Particularly a beginner person, male person. But it could also be childish behavior, right? A naivete on the positive side, innocence, but also foolishness and silliness in the negative sense of silly. There's a whole range of that kind of childish behavior that could be pointed towards. So, for us, answering the question, how can we live our lives more intentionally in the coming week? It's by realizing and giving our attention to and allowing space for and opening ourselves to new beginnings. Yeah? And approaching them with a childlike manner, not childish manner, but a childlike manner of wonder and excitement and interest and imagination. What can this new thing become? That's how we're going to live our lives most intentionally in the coming week, I think. Yeah? And allow those small new things to grow and maybe help them to grow. Now, the next card we have here is the bear. Yeah? And this is a lovely, a phenomenal bear. Does that bear look like he, she, or it is sniffing the wind to you? Yeah, kind of looks like the bear is checking out what's coming, or maybe smells something delicious out there in the far distance. So what are bears? What are bears? They are powerful beings, right? They're at the top of their food chain, mostly wherever they are. If not the very top, at least around the top 3 probably. They are strong. They also hibernate, right? So they know when to rest, but they know when to wake up, and when they wake up and they feed, and then they become their powerful selves, right? And in the case of a mama bear, a mother bear, they are very protective. They take care of those people around them. They're the bears around them. And they will be defensive when necessary, but they are not generally the ones that are going out to attack anything except for maybe a fish in a stream or that kind of thing, right? So, what is the bear for us in this reading? Now, the bear points to strength, like I said, being strong, a strong person perhaps. Sometimes this bear can point to an older woman, a mother figure, a matriarch, a powerful woman. Some people claim that the bear is a boss figure at work, which is also possible. But for us, I think it's that idea of strength and being supportive. It could be a cuddle bear, yeah, a bear that is, think big teddy bear, yeah, a cuddle bear, someone who, or that feeling of feeling comfort from and wrapping oneself in something, right? So, this card is, let's see, let me make sure I've got this correct for you. This card, the bear, this card is modifying this card. So, the bear is modifying our child, which means that this new beginning, while it is small and it is new, there is strength there. And we want to perhaps be supportive of it, knowing that it is a powerful new beginning. Right? And that strength might come from us, our inner strength feeding it. But because of our interaction with this new thing, there is a power there. It's a powerful new beginning. And that power could be intrinsic to that new thing, or it could be intrinsic to our stepping into the new experience, into the new thing. Does that make sense? So, opening ourselves to a powerful new beginning, opening ourselves with that wonder, that childlike excitement, and feeling the strength and the power that is there within both us and the new thing. That's how we want this next week to be, to feel. We want to look for those things, to open ourselves to those things. Now, we're not desperately searching through the dark and finding that thing. That's not what I'm talking about. But opening ourselves to those experiences and being ready, willing, and able to receive them. Knowing this next one. The ship. What is the ship? The ship is a vehicle. It carries us from one place to another, generally very long distances. Perhaps across an ocean, but even down a very long river. Right? This isn't a small rowboat that will get us from point A to point B within a matter of, hours, because it doesn't move very quickly, or a motorboat. A small motorboat that will get us from point A to point B quicker, but you don't want to take a small motorboat on a 10-day journey generally, if you can help it. Yeah, we want to get onto a larger boat that we can sleep on and that will carry us long distances, and that's what this is. That's the kind of ship that this indicates, the long distance journey ship. So it's the transportation, it's the journey of long distances, it's also the journey of getting from one place to another. It's also carrying things, not only people, but things from one place to another. So it could be commerce and trade, that kind of thing. And it could be international, or it could be within the same country. Remember, before trains, the primary mode to transport goods was down rivers on ships and barges and things like that. So those are all the things that the ship points to. And so we get the idea of travel, holidays, think cruise ship. Being in motion, being in transition from point A to point B, from the now to the now to the now to the now. Also great distances. Also trade and commerce. It can also be, because it's a form of transportation, our form of transportation, whatever that is for you. For me, it's my bicycle, perhaps. For you, it could be your car. Or if you've got a boat, it could be your boat. For us in this reading, what I see is that sense of, I'm sorry, I'm moving this all around. Time and distance. Yeah? Because we're starting something new with the child, and that new thing is strong with the bear, and that new strong thing is going to be not short-lived, but is going to be not transitory, but is going to be permanent. It's going to take time, right? It's going to be a journey. And there's a word I was searching for that's just not coming to me. Maybe you know what that is. But this new thing that is going to develop, if we are open to it and we are both realizing its strength and we are adding strength to it, maybe even curling up within it and enjoying the comfort of it, perhaps that's possible. We're also recognizing the durability, the time that it is going to be in our experience. This is going to be a long-term project, or a long-term experience, or a long-term evolution even. That makes sense, yes? It's a very exciting thing, I think, these three cards at the top. And even though they're not like super, super positive in and of themselves, added up all together with these meanings, it does seem very exciting to me. Does it seem exciting to you? How does that feel? How does that sense of the strong new thing beginning that is going to be enduring, evolving over time, how does that feel to you? For me, like I said, I feel excitement, I feel anticipation, I feel titillated even. And we've got three cards below. We start off with the rider. I actually love this rider image. It might be a little bit difficult to see because it's a little bit dark, but I love this rider image. We see that the rider is actually going off of the spread, and I would generally add that idea into the reading. Yeah, I read the rider. I read a lot of cards directionally with Lenormand, and the rider is carrying a message to us from what is behind the rider. And it's interesting because all of the cards are behind the rider. So what does that mean? Well, okay, so the rider. Who is the rider? The rider can be a person. It could be a youthful man, a visitor perhaps. It could be, according to some, a lover. For some people, this is a gay man. Just saying, that's out there in the Lenormand sphere. The writer is sometimes an athletic person, an informative person, a dynamic person, an outgoing and a communicative person. Why? Because the writer is the one. Think Pony Express in the olden days of the United States. If you're from the United States or you know about the Old West in the United States, there were generally men, I think mostly men, if not all men, who would have a satchel on their shoulders, and they would carry messages, letters that had to get from one place to another quickly. And so what they would do is they would ride their horse many, many, many miles, and they would change onto a new fresh horse, and they'd ride more miles, and they'd change onto a new horse, and they'd ride more miles. So they would ride over vast stretches of territory using multiple horses to get a message from point A to point B very quickly. So this is the quick message deliverer. Probably not as enduring, like it's... Think of the letter. The letter is the thing that is carried by the rider often, but it's not the letter, it's the messenger, right? So this being carries messages, news. This is a short-term movement as compared to the ship, which is a long-term movement. Yeah, so there's a burst of energy here. Something that jumps into our lives. And it could be messages, it could be news, it could be movement as well. So there's something being brought into our lives fairly quickly, fairly suddenly, perhaps unexpectedly. It might accompany news, but it doesn't have to accompany news, but it probably does. And what news is this rider carrying? Well, the next card is the moon card. And what is the moon? It's the second strongest heavenly light. It's the light that reflects the light of the sun. It's the light that appears to change form. It's transformative. It transforms. It goes through cycles. It rises and it sets and casts on full moon days bright lights into the night, right? It gives recognition. It gives visibility to the night. So we have the idea of perhaps the moon also related to our unconscious, right? The intuition, dream life, even our emotions. The moon is connected with the oceans and tides, and our emotions are there too. So those three things are very prominent for the moon. Also, people can link the moon with reputation and recognition from other people. Rising success, for example, which is possible. So we might be getting news of rising success, of our reputation, perhaps. For me, and this is because this is what I learned when I was a newbie, when I was just starting to learn Lenormand a few years ago. The idea of the moon being our heart business. Yeah, not our 9 to 5 or whatever your job schedule is, not the regular job that we do for cash money as our stability, our source of income, but rather the things that we do because we love them. And we might get income from them and we might not, but our heart business. Yeah, it could be anything from a shop on Etsy, if you know what that means, or it could be, for me, like this YouTube channel is my heart business. I'm not getting cash from it, but I do it because I love it and because it's beneficial for me, and I hope it's beneficial for you. It could be a tarot reading practice that you do on the side. For me, in the past, my theater work for a long time was my heart business. I didn't make enough money to live on. I've made some money, but not enough to live on, so I had a regular job, and then I had my acting jobs, which were wonderful, but they were my heart jobs, right? So it could be any of those kinds of things here. So, what I'm getting from these two cards together in this order is that the writer is bringing to us something new, something perhaps sudden, related to, it could be something coming from our intuition, from our dream life. We might get sudden dream messages that might be supporting that idea of the new in our lives from the child, right? But it could also be news or something jumping into our lives around our heart jobs, around our heart businesses, our secondary businesses, our secondary area of activity and employment that we love. And maybe that new thing could be coming from that sphere, or maybe this is something that supports that new thing. Does that difference make sense to you? And what about that moon card? Well, we have this wild card. In the wild card, we see this looks like a bleached out harlequin, right? Because there are no black patches. This figure is all dressed in white. And below this harlequin kind of figure, there is a picture with a black cat, and you see the black cat's eyes staring out of the picture at the harlequin, right? So for the creator of this deck, the wild card is a card of the indeterminate, the unknown. We don't know exactly what's going on. Think maybe even Cheshire Cat. Although this cat, we can actually see the full face. Perhaps it's an open question, an unknown factor. Yeah? Something that might be hard to read, like someone's poker face. Difficult to read. You're not sure exactly what you're looking at. It's not the confusion of the clouds, but you're looking at it, you can see it clearly, but you're not sure exactly what it's trying to say. Right? An open question. There's a question mark there without the answer being revealed yet. Or it could be something that we can't quite put into its place yet. Yeah? It's difficult to pigeonhole it. It's difficult to find its box. Not that I'm recommending that we should be boxing things, because boxing things is a limiting way of understanding, but it is also a way of organizing information. So we might not have found the correct box or the place for what is coming in. So these three cards together, Rider, Moon, Wild card, seems to indicate to me that something new is bursting into our lives. Something new, perhaps around our heart business, or something that we do because we love it, or something that comes up from our intuition or from our dreams. Do you interpret your dreams? Do you journal your dreams? If you do, you might discover something there. But the thing that we discover, the thing that comes up for us, is something that is not easily pigeonholed. It's not easily defined. It's a question without an answer yet. It's something that we want to give attention to, but it's not a complete message. It's right now it's indeterminate. It's something we see, but we're not sure what we're seeing. That makes sense, yes? Interesting, intriguing. And it could be from this that child is born. Yeah, that new thing is born. Entirely possible. So what do we see now? We're going to read this spread in a few different other ways, right? We're going to look at the vertical columns. And looking at that first vertical column, I really do strongly feel that there's something that the writer is bringing that is not a fully realized idea or a fully expressed message, something that is an open question, perhaps in the area, from our intuition, from our dream life, in the area of our heart business, that is brought by the writer, is the thing that starts the new thing, that is the new beginning, the new strong beginning, right? Because, why? Because the writer is right beneath the child. So this new beginning is a new beginning of something jumping into our lives, right? From a message. Something that energizes, perhaps. or that informs, but informs not in the here's the entire message with all of the information, but informs in the question, in the beginning of exploration. Yeah, that's a great word, I think. The beginning of an exploration. Leaping into our lives. And the next two cards saying that our strength, our support even, might come from our emotional lives, from our dream lives, but it can also be coming from our heart businesses. Yeah, our heart businesses or our emotional lives are what will support us on this journey. It's not an intellectual journey of figuring things out, but an emotionally supportive journey of strength. Our emotional strength is what is going to carry us forward. Yes? And so, this movement forward, we see, is the movement of not a short but a long journey. It begins with something quick, something jumping into our lives, but it is an enduring journey. Maybe that was the word I was looking for, enduring. Yeah? But some journeys seem very clear to us. Like we look at a map, we see how I'm going to get from, for example, Boston, I don't know why I picked Boston, but from Boston to Reykjavik, Iceland. Yeah? We know that we're going to get on a boat, and we're going to get on a ship, and the ship is going to get us to Iceland, and we see the course map laid out on the map. That's not what this is pointing to. The journey is going to be long, but the map has not been shown to us. It's going to be a long journey of discovery and evolution and not knowing exactly where it's going to end up even, or how we're going to get there. And we want to be okay with that, I think. We want to be okay with not knowing, with wondering, where is this going? How am I going to get there? I know where I am now, I know the direction I'm pointing in, but I don't know the direction of the full journey, and I don't know where the journey leads. We want to be okay with that. Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense, because I think that's what these cards are telling us about how we can live life more intentionally in the coming week. Now, there are a couple of other ways to read these cards, right? There are the chevrons, or the V's that some people call them, or arrows that other people call them. I like to call them chevrons. There are 3 cards which form a upward pointing chevron, like this, and there are 3 cards which form a downward pointing chevron. And we'll begin with the upward pointing chevron first, the thing that's coming up into our consciousness, right? And we have the rider, the bear, and the wild card. So what's coming up into our minds is the bear being the central card, the thing that's coming up, right? The bear being the central card. Our strength we're realizing our strength. We're realizing our ability to be supportive of ourselves and our journey, maybe even of other people. We are realizing our potential as bear, I think. That's what's coming up for us. And it's coming up for us through perhaps youthful vigor, perhaps are feeling more dynamic than usual, being more outgoing, and more capable of being with the indeterminate, being with the open question, with not knowing fully. Sitting in our strength and our vigor and our dynamic potential in the circumstances of uncertainty and mystery and discovery. Through that, our power, our strength arises. I'm not holding these cards up well for you, but that's what we're looking at here, right? This bear is rising up with these qualities of being strong, vigorous, athletic, dynamic, and able to sit in the unknown. And then we've got the powerful downward pointing triangle. Yeah, we have the child, the ship, and in the center, the moon. So this is what's dropping in to us. What's dropping in. So what's dropping in is the moon, really. So when I think of emotion, intuition, and dream life, I think of things rising. But since this is dropping in, maybe we're moving deeper into our emotional lives. Maybe we're moving deeper into our own sense of growing success even. Maybe, perhaps that idea of success is dropping into our hearts, into our emotions. Instead of just imagining it or visualizing it, maybe it's actually dropping in here. Yeah? With what qualities? Well, it's a new thing. This is new for us. And it's not dropping in fully formed, it's dropping in so that it will develop and it will grow. Right? And it's dropping in with the sense of this being a long process of development, of transformation. So maybe our emotional success, our emotionally based sense of our success is dropping in as a new thing that will grow over time. Yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? In lines with this entire reading of a strong new beginning. So there's that thing, that feeling of being successful that's moving into our guts rather than, again, being this thing that I'll be successful someday. I imagine myself, I visualize myself as the successful one. It's dropping into our core. That's a powerful thing, yes? And we're going to move into a realization of how powerful this is by adding up the insert cards. Yeah? So on the top, we have from left to right, the Jack, the 10, and the 10. Yeah, we have a Jack of clubs, a 10 of clubs, and a 10 of spades. Which gives us what? It gives us Jack is 11, plus 10 is 21, plus 10 is 31. 31 is the sun. And the sun is the most positive card in the deck. Now it's not just a plus, it's a triple plus. And it's the sun. The sun is the card of happiness, of success, of growth, of warmth, of light, and the beautiful things in life. So this thing that's growing for us gives us all of those things, right? The happiness, the success, maybe wealth, but probably growth, the beautiful things in life. And then the three cards below, what do they point towards? The Rider is 9 plus 8 for the moon. That gives us 17, right? And then the wild card has no insert, so we're left with 17. And 17 is the Stork. And the Stork is what? It's new beginnings, it's transformations, it's a positive change. It's movement. Things develop, and not always as expected. Remember, not always as expected. We don't have the map, we don't have the destination even, but we know that things are happening. Even with this wild card here, it's not expected, but it is success, it's happiness, it's growth, it's the beautiful things in life, it's light. That's a very powerful, very positive, very uplifting message for this week, I think. And I hope it's meaningful for you. Now, friends, we're going to take a look at the 4 tarot cards, and we might feel a little bit of weight from those. But remember, even remember that sometimes the bright, beautiful new bud grows out of the mud, like a lotus, right? So let's see, are we getting mud from the tarot, or are we getting diamonds and pearls? Let's take a look. Here are the cards right now. Friends, you saw the 4 cards. From the upper left-hand corner in fire, we had the Lovers. That's a cool card. And then in the lower right, we had in water the 4 of Pentacles. Maybe not such a cool card. Yeah. In the upper left-hand corner, upper left-hand corner, yes? No. Upper left-hand corner, upper right-hand corner, we have the 5 of Wands in air, a little bit challenging. And then in the lower left-hand corner, we had, in the Earth section, the 7 of Wands. Also perhaps a little bit challenging. So, these 4 cards are interesting, but I think they're giving us a little bit of caution. A little bit of a, not warning so much, there's no danger, but be aware, right? But the first card is pretty cool. Now, in the fire section, in the upper left-hand corner, we had the Lovers. And the Lovers card is beautiful. And I love this Lovers card. Do you see them? They do not look like a young couple at all. Yeah, they do not look like a young couple at all. Which is wonderful, I think. Because there's that feeling of endurance. The Lovers, it's not the moment that we pair up necessarily. It's a commitment to each other over time. That's really strongly emphasized in this particular image, I think. Now, the Lovers is associated in the Golden Dawn system with Gemini, which is an air sign. So fire and air are well dignified. So this card in the fire section is empowered, shall we say. And for the smith-waite deck, the Lovers can be love, harmony and relationships, certainly. They can be an alignment of values. Yeah, we are lined up, we're going to live our lives together in this way. It could be passion of the Lovers, but also partnership. But it's also choice. Now we can add choice into the mix here too. We choose to be together every moment of every day. Not that we're actually together, but the choice. I choose to remain faithful every moment of every day. That's what I get from this less young version of the Lovers. It's that continued and evolving choice of remaining in relationship. And like I said, that choice evolves over time, which is wonderful. And it's a wonderful boost to the reading, to the ideas that we extracted from the Lenormand section of this spread, right? A long enduring journey, so long enduring continuity of making the choice to follow, to continue. And to do it with love, with feeling harmony, and engaging our passions with this journey. Yes? Now down in the watery portion, we have the Four of Pentacles in the lower right-hand corner. And this card is very interesting. You see the three people above and behind what looks like a fence, right? Or maybe it's a wall, yeah? And then crouching down in front of the wall, in clear view of the three people outside of the wall, there's a figure clutching onto one pentacle, and there are three more pentacles at, I think, his feet. Yeah, they're clutching one pentacle here. No, there aren't three pentacles at their feet, but there is at least one pentacle that we can see at the bottom. But it looks like they also have a bag of pentacles on their back too, kind of. So what is this telling us? Well, in our emotional lives, earth and water, they're well dignified. So this card is also empowered. It could be saving money and being secure, but it's also conservatism, frugality, miserliness even. So in our emotional area now, there could be a sense of stability, financial stability of resources, but we might be looking to control. We might have that urge to mine, this is mine. I'm not letting it go, it's mine. Yeah? Which would not be so positive. Which would not be very helpful at all. So I think this is the first step of caution. Be cautious. Yeah? When we notice those feelings of clinging and clutching and holding on to, of making sure things don't change, that's a warning signal. Yes? So we want to be aware of those tendencies that we might have. And then up in the air portion, we have the Five of Wands. Now, wands in air, they are, again, well dignified. They empower each other. In this card, what do we see? It looks like two people are facing off. It looks to me like they're at a bar. But it also looks to me like they could be about to engage in a game of arm wrestling. Or some kind of a competitive thing. And there are people behind the two people seated at the table watching what looks like it could be a game or some kind of competition. The gaming aspect, the challenging oneself to do something is very positive, I think, for our reading. However, if that challenge becomes conflict or rivalry or quarrels or ego clashing, then it's a problem. If we are challenging ourselves, for example, to arm wrestling, to challenge ourselves, that's very good. If we're challenging ourselves to arm wrestling because we're going to beat that mofo, because we're going to dominate, that is not so good. That's not the attitude we want to bring into this journey of the strong new thing, right? We might want to challenge ourselves to this discovery, yes, but if it moves into negative competition and quarrels and feeling like we've got to dominate, step away from the stove, step away from the conflict, right? We're not benefiting anybody in that situation. And this card's partner, pair, in the Earth, is another Wands card. Now this Wands card in the Earth section is neutral. It's the Seven of Wands. Honestly, the Seven of Wands card to me reminds me a lot of the Five of Wands from the Smith-Waite deck. But it is the Seven of Wands. So what do we see here? We see two guys facing off and perhaps even battling each other with sticks. So in our day-to-day lives, we might be feeling what? Competition, challenges. The need to hold our ground even. I don't really see that holding ground clearly in this card. I'm remembering the Smith-Waite deck and the guy standing on top of the hill with one stick in his hand and then the 6 sticks coming up from below, and he's standing his ground, right? He's defending his territory. I guess you can see that here a little bit, but what I see here more than that is conflict between two people. Now maybe this guy here is trying to get into this guy's territory, or this guy here is trying to get into this guy's territory. Maybe there's that. And protecting your territory is visible here, but it really looks like the Five of Wands to me. But it is the Seven. So resistance is here. Opposition. The negative sense of tenacity. I'm going to hold my ground. I'm going to hold this spot. In a resistant stance is not going to be helpful for us. So, we have 3 areas of caution, I think, in this part of the spread. And one area of yay, which is in our passions. We're impassioned to partnership with this new thing. Yeah? We might love this new thing. And we might feel aligned with this new thing and a sense of harmony. Even though we don't know exactly where it's taking us or how we're going to get there, we feel a harmony with this new thing. But we want to be really careful if we feel signs of clutching onto it, of my precious, right? Or that we're going to do this thing better than anybody else because we are the winners and they're the losers, and so I'm going to dominate. If we feel that, then yeah. Or if we feel defensive of, you're not going to take this away from me, you're not going to come into my ground, you're not going to conquer me. Those are all things that we want to be cautious of on this uncertain journey that we're embarking on. Yes? Does that make sense? I hope it does. So, we have wonderful things here, but we want to be careful we don't slip into patterns of resistance in either defensiveness, combativeness, or clutchiness. Yes? We can avoid those. We've got a wonderful, beautiful lover's path open to us with this new strong thing. Hooray! So friends, here we are. That's the end of this reading. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up button. Thank you for subscribing. If you want a reading from me, my email address, well, actually, first, my new web shop address is in the description box below. Yes, I will have put my QR code if you want to use that to get over to my tarot reading shop, and you can order a reading from me there. Or my email address is also below. You can shoot me an email, we'll get you a reading. Yes? Anything you want. Smith-Waite deck tarot, Thoth tarot, maybe a continental tarot, Tarot de Marseille. I don't have Lenormand up there yet, but I'm almost ready to start doing Lenormand readings for my shop as well, so let me know what you want. It could be short, could be long, anything. So friends, here we are. Thank you. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. And now, as always, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.